Okay, we're starting our next chapter on trigonometry, and our first term that we'll look at is the geometric mean. The definition is the positive square root of the product, and remember product means multiplication, of two positive numbers. What does that mean? Well, before we get into the examples, I want to remind you about some proportions that we've looked at previously. So let's take this proportion. If I was to read this out loud, I would say A is to X as X is to B. So that first term and that last term that I read, those are referred to as the extremes. And those middle terms that I read, they happen to be the same. Those are the means. And so anytime when those terms are the same and we're dealing with all positive numbers, that is a geometric mean. So let's look at a problem that has actual numbers. So let's find the geometric mean between 2 and 18. So really what you're asking yourself is what number times itself equals 36. And how did I get 36? Because I just multiplied 2 times 18 together. Now, what I would encourage you to do, because they get harder, is set it up just like the problem above. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 2 is to X as X is to 18. And then it's just a proportion that we can solve. So we can say X times X is X squared equals 2 times 18. So X squared equals 36. Now we know that this is a quadratic, which would have two solutions, but we're reminded in our definition that we're dealing with positive numbers. So we would only say that the geometric mean is 6. And remember, a mean is a type of average, so ask yourself, does it fall between 2 and 18? Is my answer reasonable? Now let's try another one that's a little bit more challenging. So what about the geometric mean between 10 and 30? Once again, I would set it up the same way. So I would say 10 is to what number, as that same number is to 30. So we could say, okay, X squared equals 300. Now, is there a number times itself that is exactly 300? No, but we can take the square root, and it would be the square root of 300. Then ask yourself, do I remember how to simplify radicals? So you might notice that this is going to be 3 times 100, and 100 breaks apart into 10 times 10. So when you're doing simplest radical form, remember you need something times itself to take a 10 out. And so if you have a pair underneath that square root, you can take one of those 10s out. So your final answer in simplest radical form would be 10 root 3. Now you can make sure your answer is reasonable by plugging that into your calculator, but it's going to fall between 10 and 30.